April 16, 2025. Daily Bread. Passage. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 1 to 11. Key verse. Verse 1. Title: I want to remind you of the gospel. Now I would remind you, brothers, of the gospel I preached to you, which you received, in which you stand, and by which you are being saved, if you hold fast to the word I preached to you, unless you believed in vain. For I delivered to you as of first importance what I also received, that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the Scriptures, that he was buried, that he was raised on the third day in accordance with the Scriptures, and that he appeared to Cephas, then to the 12. Then he appeared to more than 500 brothers at one time, most of whom are still alive, though some have fallen asleep. Then he appeared to James, then to all the apostles. Last of all, as to one untimely born, he appeared also to me. For I am the least of the apostles, unworthy to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God I am what I am, and his grace toward me was not in vain. On the contrary, I worked harder than any of them, though it was not I, but the grace of God that is with me. Whether then it was I or they, so we preach and so you believed. Daily Bread Message. Apostle Paul wrote 1 Corinthians to the struggling church in Corinth. Throughout his letter, Paul addressed many of their issues. Now, towards the end of his letter, he writes to remind them of the gospel and of the resurrection of Jesus in particular. Only Jesus' death and resurrection can transform and give new life to a struggling people. It is easy to forget or lose the power that the gospel is meant to give us. We tend to sink into our own ways and end up at odds with others and frustrated with ourselves. Paul says we must hold firmly to the gospel, otherwise, we have believed in vain. The gospel is rather simple. Christ died, was buried, rose from the dead, and lives. All four gospels share this account. It is an amazing account of Jesus, but it is more that he did this for our sake. Jesus died for our sins and rose to give us hope and new life. Paul gives his own testimony of the life-changing power of the gospel to change a persecutor of Christians into an apostle of Christ to the Gentiles. If God's grace can change a man such as Paul, it can change anyone. Prayer. Father, thank you for dying for my sins on the cross and rising from the dead to give me hope and courage to live a new life, defined by your grace. One word. Remember the gospel.